The talk that I would like to share today is something very close to my heart, and it's very close to almost everybody in the world today. I call it as inner engineering. I really do not want to give any further introduction about myself. I think she has given a fantastic introduction. So let's first talk about health. We have been hit by COVID. We are in a very bad shape. An unknown virus, a virus that cannot be seen through a naked eye, can bring the whole globe into its knees. That's the kind of pandemic that we are seeing. So I thought that it makes sense if I can spend some time with you to understand how to improve the health of the organizations. If we really have to be agile, we have to be healthy as well. So my talk is going to be about more focusing on how to keep oneself healthy, how we can keep our organizations healthy. And I'm going to take parallels from the field of medical science, but I want to give a very clear note to all the audience. I'm not against doctors. I have a lot of respect for doctors, and I hats off to all of them for doing such a great job. But I have some challenge in the way how treatments are given. That is where I'm going to spend some time today. So first, let's talk about what is health. The alma mater definition of health from WHO prior to 1948 was completely something like absence of physical, mental, all kind of diseases is health. But on 7th April 1948, the definition got amended. So initially it was said that absence of health, absence of disease is health. But if you really see, we all have diseases. There is not even 1% of the people in the globe who are not free of diseases. So the definition started to change, and now the definition of health is a good state of mind. But I want to tell you something very interesting. We are 90% bacteria and 10% humans. If you do a bit of a research, you'll understand that we are all germs, not really humans. So it is not that we have to fight the diseases. It is not that we have to fight the germs. We'll have to live with the germs, and we'll have to develop immunity. How can we develop immunity in organizations is what I'm going to talk. When I say mind, where is the mind? It's a common question, right? Where is the mind? So I always say that the distance between an Indian mind and an American mind is 1.5 feet. Because Americans think that the mind is in the brain, the Indians think that the mind is in the heart, and the distance between the heart and the brain is 1.5 feet. But mind is not in the brain or not in the heart. Mind is consciousness. It is there in every cell. It is every cell. We tell that, right? Membrane of a cell. It is not membrane, it is membrane of the cell. So it is important that we understand what is mind and how to keep our mind calm, which means that we can remain healthy. So it all started with René Descartes, a French philosopher who in Latin made a statement, cogito ergo sum, res cogitans, res extensa. He said, I think, therefore I am. What he did was he separated the mind and the body. The thinking is your mind, and I think, I am is your body. He separated mind and the body. And then we started with something called fishnet hypothesis. Let me tell you what is this fishnet hypothesis. Every scientist started to try their own set of experiments. So a group of fishermen took a net of 2 feet by 2 feet, and then they went into the ocean, they put the net, they caught the fishes. Obviously, fishes that are bigger than 2 feet would get caught in the net. They brought it to the lab, they measured the height. In fact, they broke the fish into small pieces, measured each and every part of the fish, and then just measured the height and the weight and said that if a fish is more than 2 feet, it is an ocean fish. And that became a paper. A paper was published, Nobel Awards were given, and that became a business. Subsequently, what happened? A person like me who wants to challenge the norm took a 1 feet by 1 feet net, went into the ocean, dropped it, and caught smaller fishes. Now I come back, I publish something that no, it is not 2 by anything greater than 2 is not ocean. Anything greater than 1 is also an ocean fish. Now I also got a Nobel Award for it. So everybody started doing something called fishnet hypothesis, and by 1927, a new scientific way came into existence. Dr. B.M. Hegde called this as the reductionist science. The whole scientific approach of solving human problems is separating the body and the body and the mind. Morning 6:30, when you go for a walk with a fresh and a bright sunlight, your shadow is really long. Afternoon 12 o'clock, your shadow is small, and evening again by 5:30, the shadow length changes. Should we treat the shadow or should she treat the person? That's the problem. And what is happening today is most doctors treat the patient through the report. The reports are not treated, not the patient. A snapshot of a patient is being treated, but not the patient as a whole. This is reductionist science. And as the saying goes, the nail, the shoe was lost. For the want of the shoe, the horse was lost. And for the want of the horse, the king was lost. Dr. Wilder Penfield, a Canadian neurosurgeon, I'm extremely sorry. The mind is not in the mind is not in the brain. And he put forth three important proofs to keep up his new statement. He said all stimulations in the brain were concrete. Never was able to stimulate the power of reasoning. He could never stimulate the power of reasoning. He never saw something called as intellectual seizures. Though people had seizures through their challenges in the brain, they were able to think logically, they were able to solve arithmetic problems. And the third one is by touching a part of the brain. And by the way, he was doing brain surgeries without anesthesia. He used to talk to patients and do the brain surgery. By touching a part of the brain, he could stimulate an action in the body. Maybe by touching a brain, somebody's hand would move. But there was many chances that the patients would move their hand and he was not able to trace back to the brain, which means to say that treating the brain is not treating the mind. Most of the times when we are doing agile transformations, we are treating the brain, not treating the mind. I think it's time for us to realize treating the mind is more important, and what we call this as the mindset. Coming up with a set of processes and following like a dogmatic following those processes is just like treating the brain. You will have to allow people to solve problems, engage. That's called treating the mind. Ilya Mendeleev was a Russian scientist, and this Russian scientist at a very young age was very curious about the various living things around him. He always made notes about the living things that is in his backyard. As he grew up, he migrated to France and he eventually started working in the Pasteur laboratory in Paris. He won a Nobel Prize for finding something called phagocytes. Now, phagocytes are microbes that live in the stomach of people, right? Stomach of people. So what happened to him was he got married and his wife was infected by tuberculosis, and she was almost like she passed away. He was so dejected that he took poison. Fortunately for him, fortunately for the world, he did not die. He got married again, and his second wife started suffering with typhoid. He was so dejected in life that he took the typhoid bacteria into his body. Well, he did not suffer typhoid. He hired an assistant and gave him the virus. Nothing happened. But when we hired the second assistant and gave him, that man almost died of typhoid. So he was really wondering, why is this certain diseases don't affect me, but affects everybody? He started to do an extensive research on the stomach. And he found that it is the same set of microbes that fights the disease, and it is the same set of microbes that kinds of allow the disease to grow. And then he said that it is important to know that we are more bacteria than humans. The challenges that the humans are finding today in terms of the blood pressure, diabetes, are all because of the disturbance in these microbes. After he died in 1917, the antibiotics was found out in 1927. Ever since that, history forgot this man. But he gave something very, very important to the world. He did an experiment by giving a type of a microbe called as Toxoplasma gondii to mouse. And suddenly he saw the behavioral change in these mouse. The mice started to love cats. And he said that microbes change the human behavior. That means you have to take care of your gut, right? Don't we say gut feel? Many times business decisions are taken through gut feel. Immunity is not in the brain, but it is in the gut. 90% of serotonin is created in the gut. Now, why I am telling you this is across the transformation and across agile organizations, I still see every damn decisions come from the top. If the top is, if you consider the top as the brain and consider the engineering as the gut, why are we not taking care of engineering? I don't see a concept of self-organizing. I don't see a concept of any decentralized decision making. Everything should come from the brain. Ultimately, remember the immunity comes from the gut. In today's world, in today's pandemic, we really don't know what kind of COVIDs will hit again if this COVID virus mutates itself. It is important to restore relationship. Unless until you trust your people, unless until you make sure that people are doing the right things, trust them, give them the environment and trust their job to get done, it is not possible to build immunity in the systems. It's not possible. We become prey again and again. Rajiv Bajaj, I think it's a very well-known name in the Indian industry. And this man created history because Bajaj is the world's largest two-wheeler manufacturing organization in the world. When Rajiv Bajaj took over as the managing director from his father was always behind preparing scooters and manufacturing scooters. Hero Honda had already taken over the market. Fill it, shut it, forget it. I think you may remember the tagline of Hero Honda. And this man wanted to compete. So he wanted to change the organizations from scooters to bikes. It's like the agile transformation. Everything has to change. The product change, it was a cultural change, production process change, marketing and sales change, R&D change, and change of even the manufacturing plant. So how did he change this? What can we learn from, what did he learn from Ayurveda and homeopathy that he applied in his organization to bring in such a massive change? The first thing is called as we want teamwork. Most of the times, in order to get a great teamwork, we focus on team, then we focus on work. You can't win a cricket match with 12 Virat Kohlis. RCB is still not able to win the IPL with one Virat Kohli. And how can you win a cricket match with 12 Virat Kohlis? It's not possible. So in order to understand how to build and bring this change, I'm going to share his own experience. He is a yogi. He does yoga every day in the morning. Sometime back when he was doing yoga, he overdid yoga and sprained his back. So he was asked, so the pain was so bad that he had to take bed rest. He couldn't go to the shower, stand under the shower for 10 minutes, go to the washroom, stand under the shower for 10 minutes and come back. There was severe pain in the back and he had to come and sleep. He immediately went to the doctor. The doctor did an MRI scan and the doctor said, if you have to walk, I have to do a surgery. But he was not ready for surgery. So the yoga guru called him back and he was afraid to go because BVS Iyengar was his yoga guru and BVS Iyengar was a very strict teacher. He was sure that the yoga teacher would make him bend, twist and the pain would shoot up. But the yoga guru called him and gave him 2 hours of focused yoga. At the end of 2 hours, he was standing on his head down and the legs up, which is called as Shirshasana. And after 2 days, the pain was gone. He was so happy and he asked, he asked this yoga guru, how did you solve it? The yoga guru gave him a wonderful approach to solve problems and which I think is a great idea to solve enterprise change management challenges. He said, the doctor wanted to enable a function by changing a structure. But holistic medicine enables you to work, enables you to do the function, the structure will automatically change itself. So if you want to get teamwork, don't focus on the team, focus on the work. Team automatically is formed. But how do you understand, how to extend this to the organization level, for which we have to go back to again Ayurveda and homeopathy again. What is meant by dis-ease? It is opposite of comfort is discomfort. Opposite of ease is disease. How does one know that they have a disease? Symptoms. Whenever you see a symptom, you want to do a root cause. Whenever you do a root cause, there are 2 types of causes. One is called as the endogenous cause, which is the internal cause. The other one is called as the exogenous cause, which is the external cause. In today's world, the market condition is same for every organization. COVID has hit everybody. Everybody, right from watchman to chairman, it has affected everyone. Every industry has been affected, but still there are some organizations who are thriving. So it is not the external cause that makes us more immune. It is the internal structure that makes us more immune to market changes. And in order to understand the internal structure, we call it as the root cause analysis. You will have to do a root cause analysis. You will realize that it is the business model that is very important. And in executing this business model, it is always important that you always tell the market what is the differentiator you bring into the market. It is not the price, it's not important. The differentiator is important. Similarly, instead of focusing on what is common with everybody, focus what is not common with somebody, which is making them unique. And this is what is called disposition. And it is this position that creates immunity in the system. There is no test in the world today to check your immunity. Immunity is always through symptoms again. So the cycle repeats. So you will have to focus on building organizational immunity by making sure that you build the right business models. Otherwise, it's not possible to survive in the post-COVID era. By the way, I don't believe there is a post-COVID era. There was a pre-COVID era, and the next is COVID era. That's it. We have to live with the disease. We have to build immunity. Dr. B.M. Hegde, one of the great doctors that I really admire and respect, saw a very interesting article published in the British Medical Journal 1991-303-785. In this journal, it was published that 43 tests were done on garlic and all of them proved that it is not of medicinal value. So Mr. Hegde was very interesting. He's an Indian, he's a doctor based out in Karnataka, and he looked at the test and he found the root cause of the problem. You know what they've done? You know, this garlic gives a very bad smell when you eat. Why is this bad smell? It is because it has something called as the sulfide group. Hydrogen sulfide gives you the rotten egg smell. And when we fart, it is the same hydrogen sulfide which gives us that bad smell. So sulfide gives the bad smell. So what all these pharmaceuticals company did that they created garlic pills without the sulfide. They removed the sulfide, created a garlic pill. Everybody took the garlic pill. Nothing happened to them. No change. The right way of eating garlic is to take a raw garlic, put it into your mouth, bite it. When you bite the garlic, for a minute or two, if you bite, you find a small burning sensation on your tongue. Because there is a chemical called allicin in garlic, which will mix with a chemical called trypsin in saliva and create a new chemical called alanine. Now, this has got a lot of medicinal value. How are we doing transformation? We remove the sulfide group and do the transformation and expect wonders to happen. It is absolutely wrong. Unless until the tongue burns, you will not get the real medicinal value. We have to struggle in transformation. Transformation is not easy. Do the right things. Focus on effectiveness, not just efficiency. Don't play a number game. We have played it enough. Dr. Douglas Wallace wanted to really understand the concept of how trees give a message to a dried leaf, and one day the leaf falls from the top. In Latin, this is called as apoptosis, the killing of an unwanted item in the body. So after every cell will live about 6 months. After every 6 months, there is a message that go to cell that saying that this is the time for your apoptosis. But what he found was very interesting. What he did was he put a mitochondrial chip in certain tablets and gave it to patients and started looking at where the tablets are going. He started scanning the patients. What he found interesting was all these external tablets that we take goes to the liver. Because the body wisdom sees this tablet, the body immediately hits an SQL query to check, has it seen this before? No. Did my father see it? No. Did my grandfather see it? No. Did my grandparents see it? No. Did my mother see it? No. Which means this is a poison. So the liver starts killing the medicine. However, in spite of that, there is some medicine that will escape. That is what is called the first pass effect. Now what happens? There is a small change. And that is exactly what the doctor wanted. The doctor is only worried about the change, not worried about the liver. Eventually, what's going to happen is They give you high dosage, high potency to make sure that the number comes within the range. And eventually, what is happening to the liver? Nobody is bothered. Now the liver starts fighting and eventually the liver dies itself. That means the liver is fighting inside the body against the body, which we call as autoimmune deficiency syndrome. This is what happens when you take external medicines over a long duration of time. This is exactly what is happening for all of us when you are doing agile transformation. We take external, we look at somebody else's organization, the way they are working. Oh, they are working in squads, we will also do a squad here. No, you have to build your own organ, your own human wisdom. The wisdom in your organization can solve any bloody problem in the world. But we don't use the wisdom. We want external pill. We want pills to solve the problem. And this is not going to be for a longer duration of time. If you see how people are quitting organizations, why? This is because of autoimmune deficiency that we are creating in the system. But what is the solution for this? The solution for this is called as placebo effect. Dr. Bingle, a German doctor, created a unique experiment in this in London, in the University of London, in the University of Munich, and a couple of other places in the globe. He identified 100 patients who are suffering from terminal cancer. And he separated them into two groups. For the first group, he gave morphine. Morphine is the best painkiller that ever humans have identified. So he gave morphine, but before giving morphine, he told them that this is a vitamin B17 that we are giving you. It's not going to reduce your pain. It's going to make your life slightly better. On the other hand, he gave saline, salt water to the other group, but said it is morphine. It's going to reduce the pain. After some time, when you looked at the result, he was shocked to say that people who believed that it was morphine, in fact, came back and said the pain has reduced. He was shocked looking at this experiment. Subsequently, for the next group, he did fMRI. He did an MRI on the brain to understand what is happening, and he found something phenomenal happening. When people believed the doctor, when people believed in the medicine, when people had faith and belief in the system, their brains created more opioids, which is nothing but your painkillers. I think it's time for us to rethink about how to build faith in leadership and the engineering team and the business. I think we are not allowing this placebo effect to work. We do not have faith in each other. We just run a few numbers. We only show some metrics and try to prove that everything is working fine. Well, that's not the right way. We need to start showing this placebo effect in the system. Trust is very, very key if we have to do agile transformation and live in this agile world for the next few years to come. Dr. Susan David, I am simply amazed with her knowledge and with the kind of science that she has brought. Most of us try to build business agility. That's the buzzword that we are going in. So this is my experience. Trying to achieve business agility without giving enough importance to emotional agility creates deep voids in transformation. This is my experience. Rigidity on the face of complexity is toxic. We focus on business agility, we talk about frameworks, but no effort is made to think about emotional agility of the organization. Denial is the mother of rigidity. Nothing works in my organization. How many times I've heard this? It was for 30, 40 years that this denial was responsible for apartheid in South Africa. This is this denial. Remember, life's beauty is inseparable from its fragility. Everything in the world is uncertain, except there is only one thing that is certain, that is the end is certain. But in between the start and the end, every damn thing is uncertain. And we need to learn how to deal with this uncertainty. And this dealing of uncertainty, which is called the discomfort, is the price of admission to a meaningful life. It is that price of admission to a meaningful life that we create. Most of the times, I see people saying that I need to work in an organization where requirements are 100% clear, definition of ready, definition of done is there. It has to be very clear. We have to commit 100 points, deliver 100 points. Come on, life is not as simple as 100 points. Life is much, much tougher, right? All what I said now is dead man's goals. Nobody should shout at me. Nobody should tell me anything. I have to be 100% predictable. These are dead man's goals. The way how we treat with our emotions, we have not learned about it. We either brood or bottle it. Keeping emotions in a bottle, putting it a cap and saying that I don't care for emotions, over a period of time it becomes toxic. One day it blows out as a volcano, and the day you see a huge problem. On the other hand, you keep on brooding about it. You keep on telling everybody about transformation, failure, and end of the day, nobody listens to you. I think it's time for us to understand what is emotional agility. So emotional agility is an ability to be with your emotions with curiosity, compassion, and especially the courage to take values with the connected steps. Now, what is fear? Right? Fear. I really understand that what is courage? Sorry, what is courage? Most of the times when I ask, what is this courage all about? They say, courage is not absence of fear. Courage is fear walking. So she gives a beautiful model. It's called the NASA. She says, and learn how to name your emotion. Without knowing what the emotion is, you are struggling for years together. Next is accept the emotion. Acceptance is not a weakness, it's a strength. Next is separate yourself from your emotions. You need to learn how to move away from your emotions. I've seen people saying, I'm pissed off. I'm disgusting. I really cannot do anything. Can you change that statement to saying that I am noticing that I am getting pissed off. I am noticing that I am getting frustrated. The moment you create the gap between you and your emotion, a new world is created, and you can play a very important role. As Viktor Frankl, the survivor of the Nazi era, said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And it is in that space lies our true character. It is in that space that we have a power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and freedom. And I think we have to convert this. It's like your red light and a green light that you get in a traffic signal. Between the red and the green, there is this amber where you have space to do something meaningful. It is that space we need to increase so that we can take meaningful decisions, not become emotionally amplified to take wrong decisions. How about we building hypothesis then? Today in 10 minutes, I'm going to prove that every American and every European is having a problem. I'm going to prove in 10 minutes now. I collect 10,000 folks in India between the age of 45 to 50, male. I measure their height and I come up with this Gaussian graph. 5'4" is the height. And 5'2" and 5'6" are the extremes. If anybody is between 5'2", then they are outliers. Anybody between more than 5'6", they are an outliers. Now, Amitabh Bachchan comes for a medical health checkup. I look at his height and say, Mr. Bachchan, you are an outlier. Your height is beyond 5'4". We have to cut your legs to bring you to 5'4". So we cut his legs. Next day, Jaya Bachchan comes to see him. We look at Jaya Bachchan and say, hey man, you are also an outlier. We take the 2 legs cut by Amitabh Bachchan, put it to her and say, both of you are now husband and wife, both are at 5'4". I think this is a big mistake we are doing. We are trying to set an average as a standard. I think that is wrong. If you really have to improve organizationally by building the right hypothesis, I strongly recommend you to look at Toyota Kata. That gives you a wonderful idea of how to set a target and how to achieve amazing results. Ansel Keys in 1955 did an amazing experiment when he got $1 million US grant. He traveled across the world and did a lot of experiments to study the effect of fat on heart diseases. And he found some amazing results. The picture on the right side, the big picture on the right side is what you see. He did tests on 22 countries. But when it came to publish a result, he removed 15 and took only 7 countries and published an XY graph for a complex human body and said more fat, people will die. He created this result. In 1962, a British nutrition, the guy who takes care of nutrition, he came up and did the same test for sugar. And both of them said that the fat and the sugar is the one that is creating heart diseases. In the bargain, they also created something like caste system in heart, in fats, polysaturated fat, saturated fat, unsaturated fat, and they also created something called omega-3 fat. And they said the more omega-3 fat you take, you are going to die. Right? And then there is a British medical journal written by W.J. Firth, William John Firth. And William John Firth writes this article, and he says that if you go to a doctor, generally I have a throat infection, I go to the doctor and say, hey doctor, I have to give a presentation in Agile NCR conference on Saturday. Today is Wednesday. Do you think I'll be able to talk properly? I'm having severe pain. The doctor says, take this tablet 3 times today. You will feel better after 2 days and you'll be ready to give a presentation on the 4th day. Now, this is a great deal, isn't it? Not only I will be cured, the doctor is also giving me the prescription. Course of my cure is also predicted. How can you predict in such a complex system here? The human body is a non-linear system. Same thing happens to organizations, isn't it? The organization is a non-linear system. The market is a non-linear system, but you expect to deliver constantly at the same pace? How is it possible? You cannot reduce your velocity. You have to constantly increase your velocity. In a complex system like a human body, can I draw an XY graph and prove everything? Your velocity should keep on increasing pi over pi. What a nonsense metric is this? Now, in order to take this further, President Nixon did another experiment. He took 100,000 American citizens, separated them into 2 groups. All were suffering from hypertension and diabetes. And they did something called the MR-FIT experiment, multiple risk factor intervention trial. For 25 years, they gave medicines to these people. For the first 5 years, what they saw was people who took tablets for diabetes and for hypertension, their results were all normal. But people who did not take, they were in the non-normal range. But at the end of 25 years, what they found was people who were given medicine died, but people who did not take medicine survived in the non-normal range. So it means to say that it is important for us to focus on self-healing, not on external medication. And look at the graph. A 9% increase in omega-3 decreases the cardiac risk 25%. 25 years back, they proved that omega-3 was the killer. The moment this came, they said omega-3 is no more a fat to be considered. They created omega-6. Now, this is what is happening. Everybody wants to do their own fishnet hypothesis. So what is health then? What is health? How does Ayurveda talk about health? Ayurveda's definition of health is samadosha, sama-agnischa, samadhatu, malakriyaha, prasanna atma, indriya manaha, swastha iti abhidyayet. This is the definition of Ayurveda, which came something like 8,000 years back. Probably there is no other definition of health that can actually cover this. So what is the medical meaning of this statement? One is in perfect health when the 3 digestive fires, digestion, assimilation, and metabolism, takes care of all the body tissues and components called the dhatus, the entire physical body, all the excretory functions, the physiological functions of urination and defecation are in perfect order with a pleasantly disposed content, mind, senses, and spirit. If you convert that into an organization health, this is my definition of an organization health. An organization can be of perfect health when the 3 pillars, which is people, customer, and culture, all the body tissues and components, all the functions in the organizations are working without silos. All the excretory functions, elimination of politics and waste in the system are in a perfect order with an environment of psychological safety, innovation, respect for people, flow, and relentless improvement, and people love their work and customers. You can never fall sick if you can have an organization like this. It thrives in any kind of market condition. How do you start getting there? To start getting there, it is only 3 simple steps. Hita, Mita, Sevana. Hita means whatever you eat, eat happily. Mita, eat only what is required. Seva, start serving people. Do what is required, limit the working process, take care of your customers. That's the first step to go to your organization health. And as Dr. B.M. Mendeleev says, it is not what you eat kills you. It is what eats you kills you. You have to spend a time to understand that last statement. I'm sorry. The father of modern medicine, Hippocrates, said, "The new way of treatment cures rarely, comfort mostly, console always." What is meant by cure? Person A is infected because of a disease, go to a state of B, give some medicine, get to the state of A is called curing. But Hippocrates says cures rarely. Comfort mostly. If you can't breathe, give oxygen. If you can't piss, give a medicine. If you can't shit, give a medicine. And we always console always. The doctors would finally come and tell the patient, look, we tried our best, nothing much can be done. You wanted to go to heaven, isn't it? Time has come for you to go to heaven. You are earning for go to heaven. Now is the time. Go to heaven. And if Saint Peter's had made a mistake in his metrics, which generally everybody does in the organization, we screw up the metrics. If Saint Peter has also done something similar, don't worry, you will go to hell. And in hell, you will be very happy because all your friends are in hell. So again, I repeat, trying to achieve business agility without the aid of emotional agility creates deep voids in transformation. If we start believing that for every ill, there is a pill, remember, every pill creates more ill. It's time to focus on our inner engineering. I think as leaders, engineers, we need to reverse the statement. We should cure always, comfort mostly, console rarely. What kind of an engineers are we if we can't understand our own inner engineering? Time has come for us to think up and see how to solve our problems and organization problems. That is the end of my presentation.